Why spending feels so complicated? For many people, money is not just practical, it's emotional. We don't just spend money, we justify it, we regret it, we feel guilty about it. And interestingly, that guilt shows up whether we spend too much or too little. Buy something nice and you may feel irresponsible. Don't buy it and you may feel deprived. This tension exists because most of us were never taught how to spend money consciously. As Ramit Sethi put it, unfortunately most of us were never taught how to consciously spend, which means cutting costs mercilessly on the things you don't love, but spending extravagantly on the things you do. That quote captures the core idea of this video. Today I want to talk about why spending guilt exists, why most people approach spending backwards, how to decide what's worth your money, how to stop overthinking purchases, and how to see money as a time, not just currency. It's not about budgeting harder. It's about thinking better. Why spending guilt is so common? Spending guilt doesn't usually come from lack of money. It comes from unclear values. When you don't know what matters to you financially, every purchase feels questionable. You might think, should I really be buying this? What if I need that money later? Other people would never spend on this. Guilt fills the space where clarity is missing. Two extremes that create guilt. Most people fall into one of two extremes. Extreme 1. Cutting costs everywhere. This looks responsible on the surface. You hunt for the best deals. You minimize spending across all categories. You feel proud for saving. But over time, this creates frustration. You end up depriving yourself in areas you actually care about. Spending energy optimizing tiny costs, feeling resentful about money. This is not conscious spending, it's indiscriminate restriction. Extreme 2. Spending without intention. The opposite extreme is spending freely without restriction. It looks like impulse purchases, buying things because others do, upgrading without a real reason. At first, it feels good, but later the guilt appears because the spending wasn't aligned with anything meaningful. Conscious spending, the missing middle. Conscious spending lives in the middle. It asks two simple but powerful questions. What do I actually care about? What do I not care about at all? When you answer those honestly, guilt starts to disappear. First step: decide what you want to spend your money on. This step is foundational and often skipped. Most people try to manage money before deciding what it's for. Ask yourself, what genuinely improves my quality of life? What purchases bring lasting satisfaction? What services or products reduce stress or save time? There are no universal answers. What matters to you may not matter to someone else, and that's exactly the point. Step 2. Identify what isn't worth the money for you. This is just as important as knowing what you value. Look at your spending and ask, what purchases feel pointless? What do I buy out of habit, not desire? What do I spend on because it's expected? If you don't see the point in spending more, spend the bare minimum. There is no moral reward for paying extra for things you don't care about. Spending less where it doesn't matter. Let me give you a concrete example. Why should I go to a hairdresser and spend 100 euros when I can achieve the same look and color I want at home for 10 euros? For someone else, the salon experience may be valuable. For me, it isn't. So I spend less without guilt. This is not being cheap, it's being intentional. Spending more where it actually helps. At the same time, I'm willing to spend 2 euros more at my usual convenience store instead of hunting the best deal across multiple shops. Why? Because time matters to me. That extra effort would cost me more than the money saved. Convenience is not laziness. Convenience often gets framed as laziness or waste, but convenience is sometimes buying time back, and time is not replaceable. Spending more to reduce daily friction. Another example, food. Sometimes I'm willing to spend more on food if it makes cooking at the end of a long day easier. That extra cost buys less decision fatigue, less stress, more energy for other things. It's not indulgence, it's a strategic spending. One of the most powerful mindset shifts is seeing money as time. If your wage is 20 euros an hour, a 40 euro purchase costs 2 hours of your life. Now ask, is that item worth 2 hours of your time? This question instantly changes how spending feels. Why this perspective works. Money feels abstract. Time feels real. When you connect spending to time, impulse purchases lose appeal, meaningful purchases gain clarity, guilt decreases because decision feels grounded. Why saving more isn't the goal. Many people think the solution to guilt is saving more. But saving without purpose doesn't solve the underlying issue. If you don't know what you're saving for, saving becomes endless, and spending always feels wrong. Conscious spending balances present enjoyment with future security. Spending without guilt requires boundaries. Guilt-free spending is not unlimited spending. It requires boundaries, clear priorities, honest trade-offs, acceptance that you can't optimize everything. Every yes is a no to something else, and that's okay. Why comparing your spendings to others creates guilt? Comparison is one of the biggest sources of spending guilt. Someone else travels more, lives more luxuriously, spends freely on things you avoid. But you don't see their full picture. You don't see their debt, their stress, their trade-offs. The spending only needs to make sense in your life. Conscious spending is personal, not moral. Spending choices are often framed as moral decision, cheap versus expensive, frugal versus wasteful. But conscious spending is not about virtue, it's about alignment. There is nothing virtuous about suffering through things you don't value. The role of minimalist in guilt-free spending. Minimalism is often misunderstood as owning less. In reality, it's about owning intentionally. When you own fewer, better aligned things, maintenance decreases, appreciation increases, guilt fades. You know why you choose what you choose. Why guilt often signals misalignment. If you feel guilty about spending, ask, did this align with my values? Or did I buy it out of habit, pressure, or emotion? Guilt is feedback, not punishment. Use it as an information, not shame. How to practice conscious spending in daily life. Here are few practical questions to ask before spending. Would I still want this in a month? Does this solve a real problem? Is it replacing something I already have? Am I buying this for myself or to keep up? You don't need to ask them every time. Even one pause creates clarity. Conscious spending builds confidence. When you spend consciously, you trust your decisions. You stop second guessing. You stop explaining yourself. Confidence grows from clarity. You know why you spend and why you don't. What happens when you get this right? When spending aligns with your values, saving feels purposeful, spending feels intentional, guilt fades naturally. You stop oscillating between restriction and regret. Spending is a skill you can learn. No one is born knowing how to spend money well. It's learned through reflection, experimentation, and honesty. The goal is not to spend less. The goal is to spend better. Cut costs mercilessly on what you don't love. Spend freely on what truly matters to you. That's not indulgence, that's wisdom. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.